Hi, my name is Joe Shannon, and I work at a firm called Shannon Law Group with some very talented people. So our firm represents people that are catastrophically injured in bad collisions, and a lot of times they demand some expertise. What I asked one of our attorneys, Patrick Cummings, to do was to really delve into this area of law during his practice. And during his years of practice, he's gotten repeated exposure to these cases. And in fact, I asked him if he'd be kind enough to write a book so that we could send it to our clients and our friends so they know exactly what's going on with these cases. And he did. He wrote a book called Avoiding a Trucking Nightmare. The good thing about this book is that you can download it from our website, but we'll also send you a copy of it. But hey, better than that, we have Patrick with us today to talk about some trucking litigation and trucking cases. So I'm hopeful that you'll enjoy this session. So why should somebody hire a trucking crash lawyer to represent them? I mean, I always tell people the number one reason why people hire us is to delegate the stress of dealing with this situation, which is way bigger than them, to us, because we've dealt with this over and over and over again. Are there any other reasons why you would think that they would want to hire somebody like us?
Yeah, well, trucking cases, even beyond just your typical motor vehicle crash case, they're very complicated. There's all sorts of federal regulations and safety guidelines that these trucking companies have to follow. And so it's important that you find somebody that understands all of those, as well as all of the different moving parties that Joe described earlier. But ultimately, it's the same reason why I don't try to install a new sink in my kitchen, just because I don't do it every day. I want somebody that does it every day to come in and do it the right way. And so that's the same thing as what we do is we do these cases every single day. We understand what we're doing, and so allow us to kind of shoulder the burden of it so that you don't have to.
I wanted to give the listeners a little update on some of the more recent, in the last 1 or 2 years, changes that you've seen in the trucking industry. Can you give us any of those?
Kind of the biggest thing that's helping our cases are the availability of telemetrics. And so telemetrics are, like anything in any industry, it's becoming more data driven. And so these trucking companies need to understand exactly where their trucks are, the routes they're taking, how much gas they're using, because ultimately they're trying to save money, okay? And they're trying to make the whole system, the logistics process, as efficient and streamlined as possible. Well, that data is good for us because it allows us to understand exactly what their operations are, what routes people are taking, whether or not they're being given routes that they can't finish without violating certain rules, like speed violations, for example. The prevalence, I would say, of telemetrics is something that's really come on in the last few years, and I can only imagine it's going to grow, from not just the big trucking companies, but eventually I think every single trucking company will have all sorts of technological equipment available to them.
So one of the things that was somewhat surprising to me when I looked it up was the number one profession in a majority of the states in the U.S. is truck driver. So it used to be, decades ago and maybe even 10 years ago, that these women and men would keep a logbook, written logbook, which they would store in their cab, which they would write down when they started driving, basically be a diary of their trip. Is that still happening?
It's not. So what the Department of Transportation found is that too often drivers, for whatever reason, were just being inaccurate with those logbooks. And so what that creates is an environment where people are driving longer than they're allowed to be driving over a day or over a week, and that creates fatigued drivers. And there are so many studies that have come out in the last 10 years about the effect of fatigued drivers in the general public and how dangerous that is. Now you add to that, it's not a 3,500 pound sedan, it's an 80,000 pound tractor trailer, and the effects just get magnified. And so the Department of Transportation decided we can't allow this to be subject to human interpretation. We are going to set up these electronic logbooks, which are actually connected to the computer in the tractor. So they can't be phony to a large extent. It's documented clearly what hours they're in operation, what hours they're parked, what hours the car is off, etc.
Well, thank you so much, Patrick. I really appreciate you taking time. And again, thanks for writing your book. It's called Avoiding a Trucking Nightmare: What You Need to Know After a Truck-Related Injury. And it's simple to read. It's a good resource, and you can pick it up at shannonlawgroup.com. You should also, if you like the information that we're providing to you, you should subscribe to our YouTube channel at Shannon Law Group. So I hope you enjoyed this taping, and we look forward to hosting more of these tapes in the future. Thank you very much.